Come with me as I spend a day at Six Flags over Texas. At the start of the day, me and my family decided to first head over to Titan, which we quickly realized was not in the Spain section of the park. After a minor detour, we found the hidden sign above the picnic pavilion's entrance. We headed that way and let the path take us through a tunnel and beside the entrance and lift hill of New Texas Giant. One thing that we noticed on the way to Titan was that it was super far from the park's main pathway and was certainly a bit of a journey to get to. The ride had no line, and the only real wait was actually walking the whole distance to the ride itself. Once we got there, it did not disappoint. Me and my brother decided to sit in the front row for our first ever time on this beast. The ride then took us up a 245-foot tall lift hill and threw us down a 255-foot tall drop before reaching speeds of almost 140 kilometers per hour. After hopping off, I could still feel my legs being pushed down from the intense forces that I just endured. I actually quite liked this ride with its intensity and would definitely do it again later in the day. After Titan, me and my family decided to head over to New Texas Giant. We entered another completely empty queue and we were just about to walk up the stairs when we heard the worst thing possible. The ride temporarily shut down for technical difficulties, meaning that it could stay closed for a few hours or the whole day. After hearing that, we decided to hop on the other ride right beside New Texas Giant, the horseless carriage. This was certainly a fun ride as it took us on a somewhat long loop, giving us great views of the oil derrick, shockwave, and other areas of the park. But one downside was that the ride was super slow and hard to control. Trust me, it was not my fault I kept hitting the guardrail. On our way to Runaway Mountain, we saw that school was closed. When we got there, we saw a super long, windy, and well-themed queue leading into the building that had a cool shed, alligators, and lots of tall trees. When we got inside the building, it took us through a tunnel to get to the loading station, and let me just say, this ride is way more intense than I thought it was going to be. Yes, it's not very tall or fast, but due to the fact that it is in complete darkness and all the turns are extremely whippy, made this a lot more thrilling of an experience than I was expecting. When my family and I were done with Runaway Mountain, we decided to go and check out Aquaman. But when we saw the towering spikes of the water coaster, we realized that it was closed for the season as it was too cold to operate. Instead of Aquaman, we decided to head into the Hall of Justice to take part in the Battle of Metropolis. This dark shooting ride was very well themed and even had tilting ride vehicles to add to the experience. Walking out of the building for Battle of Metropolis, we saw Pandemonium, a Gerstlauer spinning coaster, which is the same type of ride as Galaxy Orbiter at Galaxyland. This ride is only 50 feet tall and reaches speeds of only 50 kilometers per hour, but yet it was still a fun ride to get on while we had the chance. After Pandemonium, my family and I decided it would be a good time to grab a quick bite to eat, so we went to a small barbecue place that served pretty average food. When we finished lunch, we decided to go and check out the massive oil derrick that we had been wanting to see all day. The walk over to the tower was actually pretty cool, as the tower slowly got bigger and bigger until we were right at its feet. But when we tried to go up, it ended up being closed as well. This sucked as we thought we were going to be able to get some amazing views at the top of this attraction. We then asked an employee why it was closed, and he said it was likely due to high winds at the top of the tower. After another failure, we decided to go on Pirates of Spelunker Cave. This was a very cool ride as it took us on a little boat through an extremely long tunnel full of super cool and at some points a bit ominous theming. Apparently this ride was at one point closed for a very long time due to a flood and had to go through extensive refurbishment. I can totally see why it was closed for this long as it had so many cool props and animatronics. After that, we decided to head back to Titan to get a few more laps on it. Me and my brother ended up riding it another 3 times at the end and could barely even walk straight after getting pummeled by all the forces. Once we could walk in a straight line, we each got a cool keychain from the Titan gift shop that had a piece of the train that could move. We decided to go back and check if New Texas Giant had reopened yet, but it still hadn't, so we decided to wait for the train which would take us over to the DC section of the park. It started raining a bit while we were waiting for the train, and at times came down a bit harder than others, but nothing that would close anything down. When the train finally arrived, I thought it looked super cool. From the flags on the front to the nice color scheme, cattle guard, and overall design, I thought the Six Flags did a great job designing this train. Once we hopped on the train, it took us all along the edge of the park and gave us great views of many coasters and scenery, including New Texas Giant, Shockwave, the Ghost Town, Mr. Freeze, and Batman. Once we hopped off the train, we headed straight towards Batman and saw a super cool Batmobile. We journeyed down another insanely long queue that felt like a mile, and finally arrived at the loading dock. And I am not even making this up. Right when we were the next people to get on, the ride shut down due to technical difficulties, and we had to walk all the way back the entire line to be able to get on the next ride. This was when I started to get a bit annoyed, as this was the 4th attraction of the day that was closed due to something. But putting that behind us, we decided to hit up Mr. Freeze, as it was the closest ride to Batman. But before we could even enter, we saw a whole crowd of people gathered around the entrance, and we realized yet another ride was closed. This made it so we could not go on any coaster in the DC section of the park. With our happiness at the daytime low, we decided to hop back on the train and see if New Texas Giant had reopened yet. And as we were waiting for the next train, it started raining even worse than before, and it seemed like our day might come to an early end. The train's passenger car got absolutely soaked, and you could not even see anywhere due to the rain, which was impeding visibility. Once the train started moving, we got to see a little bit more of the park, including a cool water tower, this cursed ride, and La Vibora, the park's bobsled coaster. But when we got back to New Texas Giant, we were so happy. We saw that it was back open and throwing trains over its drop. With no hesitation at all, we ran into the queue with the rain soaking us and hopped onto the ride. This made the day so much better as we were able to actually ride the 153-foot tall monster and check it off our list. Me and my brother ended up riding this way more than we should have by doing it 7 times. 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and 3 in the middle. New Texas Giant easily became my favorite ride in this whole park with its aggressive drop, many airtime hills, bank turns, and sheer sense of speed. And that basically concluded our day at Six Flags Over Texas. Overall, it was a very fun day, but was brought down a bit with all the ride closures. Thanks so much for watching to the end of this video, it really means a lot to me. And if you liked this video, I would greatly appreciate if you would smash that like button and subscribe.